My name is Matt Hyatt. I've been with Huntsville Utilities for 21 years. Currently, I am a line supervisor. 10 years ago, when the storms hit, I was working in a lineman position.
My name is Stacy Cantrell. I'm currently the Vice President of Engineering here at Huntsville Utilities. And 10 years ago, I was in the electric engineering group and stationed out at Chase Operations Center.
Todd Payne with the electric department, currently a line supervisor for the overhead construction crew. The day of April 27, 2011, I was a lineman, a journeyman.
I'm Mike Counts. I'm the Vice President of Operations here at Huntsville Utilities, and 10 years ago when this hit, I was the Electric Engineering Superintendent.
My name is Gerald Robinson. I'm a crew leader in the gas department. Been at Huntsville Utilities for 15 years. 10 years ago when the tornadoes come through, I just got out of apprenticeship school and was a pipe fitter for the gas department.
I'm William Pippin. I was the CEO President of Huntsville Utilities during the April 27th tornado.
I remember that day was a real hot day.
It was kind of that overcast, sun out, then clouds and rain on and off.
You know, I kind of remember it being extremely humid that morning for April.
Particularly high-risk day. We had already had storms come through and we were kind of recovering.
We knew that there was the potential, but we weren't sure how bad it was going to be.
We started out that morning with storms and threats of tornadoes. We had a tornado fairly early in the morning, and it took about 65% of our system were without power. And then by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, all but 25% had been restored. So we thought we were doing pretty good.
Got a phone call asking if I would go to Guntersville and help them because they had been hit the night before pretty hard. Got back to the building, they said, no, you ain't going nowhere, stay right here.
You could tell that it wasn't going to be a good day.
We started getting the warnings, and they started telling people that they need to take cover if they were in this area and that area.
It was business as usual around Research Park, busy, a lot of cars. Parking lots were full. Went down the manhole, started working. I can hear stuff on the radio, don't really know what's going on. At one point, the guys outside said, y'all come back out. When we come back out, it's like a ghost town.
And there was a lot of fog in the air, real low, got like really calm and really quiet.
Biggest thing I remember at that point was the sky north of us was green.
I remember my apprentice saying, I'm fixing to go into the church. And I said, what are you going in the church for? And he said, because there's a storm shelter in the church. And he was like getting out to go into the church, and I had to like grab him and say, you can't go into that church. And he's like, why not? And I said, because there's no storm shelter in that church. And as we go back to the truck to get in the truck, I noticed all the fog just got pulled out of there.
That you could see pieces of homes, papers, just debris falling out of the sky in certain areas.
When I seen the EL5, the side of it, come by us.
So I was already in dispatch when it happened. Typically I would be out there in dispatch for major storms anyway.
And then we found out that the TVA lines were all down.
We lost everything.
We had been completely dropped by TVA.
Madison County was off the grid.
Not a person on our system had power.
Of course, we've never had an experience where we lost everything before, so now what do we do?
Those first few hours, it was just, we didn't know what to do because we've never had this type of problem before. TVA had never had this big of a problem.
That night, it was a very somber night. It was a very, I was here at work, but the whole time I was worried about where my family was. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Couldn't hardly get out on a cell phone. I think they rode the storm out in a bathtub.
We had two problems. One problem was we had to repair all the damage caused by the tornadoes and storms, and the other problem was to restore the power once TVA got their transmission lines and generators back up.
Nobody could get power until TVA started giving us power. So we were just setting things in motion to be able to get those things back in service.
We knew we had lines to repair. So we weren't just sitting around waiting. Our crews were out working. They were putting up poles that got broke. They were putting up wiring, transformers and things like that. So we just basically had to send people out and look at every circuit, every line through our whole Madison County system. For when TVA was ready, we wanted to be ready.
It was basically a new build. We were going in and just building new in these areas because all our equipment was damaged so bad you couldn't reuse it.
They kept half of us there, or so many there, and sent so many home.
They divvy us up into crews as to who's going to work through the night, who to report the next morning. And I was on a crew that came in. I went home, kind of got my family situated that night, and then came back in and we started working the next morning.
My first responsibility was the crew that we was with. We done storm cleanup. They first sent us out to the harvest area, cleaning up poles, trying to get wire out.
What was really critical was we had one transmission line left from TVA coming into Huntsville, and that was the line from Gunnersville Dam that came down to our big delivery point around Hobbs Island Road.
So first thing you start with, what's your most critical infrastructure?
The first two always on the top of the list are hospitals and water treatment plants.
They have generators, but they only have so long that they can run. But we knew we needed to get those water plants back online.
The water department, they were really in a bind because our other water plant was out of service, and all of our water tanks, they had enough water to go through 1.5 days.
One of the things that we had to do, that Huntsville Utilities had to do, is go around and pump up water tanks. Otherwise, people wouldn't have been able to flush their toilets. You know, in a day or so, tanks would run out of water and that would be it. So they took generators and they went around from tank to tank to tank 24 hours a day pumping up these tanks. You don't realize how lucky we were to continue to have potable water throughout this situation.
We worked many, many hours.
When I come back to the building at daylight the next day, I was struggling. We all were.
Since I had an office at Chase Operations, I slept out there several days.
It was 16, 17-hour days, 18-hour days.
You kind of set yourself in autopilot and you're just going.
We had gas and water guys working together out there to get this done. They were out there helping the electric guys, delivering material, whatever it took.
We were just going and biting up poles that was broke down. Wires that they had confirmed was dead, we was rolling up wire.
We even had trailers that had showers so that crews could come in and take showers.
Trailers set up that you could bring your clothes in, get your clothes washed.
It was going to be a long time before we got everybody back home.
So we had crews from Florida, South Alabama. We didn't have hotels for them to stay in because we didn't have power anywhere. So they had 18-wheelers come in with bunk beds in them.
Brought back a retiree, Nicky Gillum, and I worked with him. We worked with Tuskegee and electric department out of Lakeland, Florida.
Tree trimming crews coming from all over.
We had a lot of people come in and help us, and they were really good guys that come in and help.
We worked about 2 solid weeks doing most of the repairs.
To go through the whole county and go all the way around and get a little bit on each time until you get the whole county back on.
I was unfortunate to have lost a family member, an uncle, and there was no going to the funeral. That's what we sign up for when we sign up to do this, is when this happens, you got to do what you got to do.
So after about 4 days, we were getting our system pretty well in shape.
There were daily or maybe multiple meetings a day where we would look at, okay, what do we have available from TVA? What is TVA going to give us? We were feeding TVA our priorities, and quite often we thought we should have more.
As TVA fixed their power plants and their transmission lines, they would tell us that, okay, you can add 50 more megawatts to your system. And the reason for that was the TVA system had been made unstable. And they had to make sure that they were able to integrate the load that we were adding to the system in a safe manner so it did not knock out their entire system.
Carter's Grove area over there by the gin.
I do remember Carter's Gin.
I'll never forget riding through that subdivision.
I remember going in when they made that subdivision, established it, and putting services in all the houses. And then we went back to get the lines back on during the daylight hours, and it looked like the subdivision was being developed new with just all slabs.
I remember seeing a house, just a slab where a house was at, and then right next door was a single wide mobile home, and just a few pieces of underpinning had blowed off from the mobile home, and the house that was right beside it was blown completely down.
Vehicles where they were just picked up and thrown.
I can remember people just kind of wandering around, not knowing what was going on. It was just, it was a kind of, horrific scene of just destruction and mass chaos, and people just not knowing what to do or where to go, or their whole life just got blown away by a storm.
The feeder line that goes down Pulaski Pike was just gone. Poles were down and the wires were stripped out, and we were like, where did the wire go? We didn't know where the wire went. And a guy pulled up and said, can I get in to get to my vehicle? And we're like, what are you talking about? He said, that's my vehicle. It was way out in the middle of a field away from us. And we were like, okay, where was your vehicle? Were you here? And he said, no, it was in Anderson Hills. So that car, when we went out to that car, that's where all our wire was. The car caught our wire and tore it all and took it out in the middle of the field.
Because when you get out working, you'll hear people's stories. You'll hear what they say, how they rode the storm out. And they might have been in the bathroom of the house, but the whole other side of the house is gone, and putting yourself in their shoes, what it must have been like to ride that storm out, tucked up in a little room while the rest of your house is getting destroyed.
They had the National Guard stationed at the beginning, or at the entrance of Anderson Hills, to keep people from coming in and stealing from houses that was damaged.
And you would pick pictures up everywhere, and you would just of kids and parents, and you're like, I no idea who to give this to, I tried saving some of it, and I'm like, I don't really know who you would even give it to.
Everybody helped everybody, whatever needed to be done.
You saw a different side of people. There were families out riding bicycles. They were communities coming together. They were grilling and cooking, taking care of each other.
Seems like so long ago, 10 years, but then it also seems like, I talk about it quite often. I think a lot of us do and remember that.